Little darling, it's been a long, long racing season. Little darling, it's time to rest and find a home. Here comes the hounds, didn't you know? Here comes the hounds, and I say it's for life. Hounds for life. Hounds for life.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the expert segment on the Hounds for Life podcast series. Today we're going to go through the history of greyhounds from approximately 8,000 years ago. I'm not an expert in history, however I absolutely love greyhounds and I've been studying this somewhat for the past 2 weeks, so let's see how I go. Greyhounds are the oldest purebred dog, dating back to the time of the pharaohs in ancient Egypt. The first records of greyhound-type dogs appear approximately 8,000 years ago. In ancient Egypt, greyhounds were revered as gods, and only royalty were allowed to own them. All sighthounds today descend from the ancient greyhound. Many Egyptians considered the birth of such a hound second in importance only to the birth of a son, which is phenomenal. The ancestors of modern greyhounds were used in hunting and kept as companions, and their favourite companions of the upper class were mummified and buried with their owners. The walls of the Egyptian tombs were often decorated with images of their hounds, and the Egyptian god Anubis, you may recognise him as the god with the human body and the dog head, is frequently displayed on murals in the tombs of the pharaohs. The Greeks likely purchased their hounds from Egyptian merchants sometime before 1000 BC. In a Greek story, the hero Odysseus was away fighting for 20 years, and upon his return to Ithaca, he wears a disguise. However, his sighthound Argos recognizes him. Argos's traits that are detailed in the excerpt are similar to that of a greyhound, which is phenomenal. Like, we're talking so long ago, guys. Greek gods were also often portrayed with greyhounds, and you can see many pictures online, and I'm sure in history books, for those of you who prefer history books, you can see them and on this coin here in this slide. They're slightly different, but clearly very greyhound-like. It's very, very creepy in a way. Okay, off we go to Rome. The Romans obtained their greyhounds from either the Greeks or the Celts, and Roman authors often referred to them as Celt hounds, which I thought sounded very similar to sighthounds. The Romans used their hounds for coursing, which is when the greyhounds go after a live hare. There is an excerpt here which states the impatient greyhound is held back to give the hare a fair start, which I thought was very sweet. Unlike modern day racing, the dogs did not compete against each other. Some of you may actually know this, but the only breed of dog mentioned by name in the Bible, in this instance the King James Version of the Bible, is the greyhound. This is in Proverbs 30:29-31. King James's translators depicted from the Holy Bible that one girded in loins would likely have to be a greyhound. This is quite possibly because, as well as the Romans, greyhound coursing was also popular with King James's court, so he was probably familiar with the breed. Still fascinating though, honestly. Alrighty, so greyhounds nearly became extinct in the Middle Ages during times of famine. They were, however, saved by clergymen who protected them and bred them for the nobility. In the 10th century, King Howell of Wales made killing a greyhound punishable by death, and commoners were not allowed to own greyhounds. If they were caught owning one, then they were punished. Commoners who hunted with greyhounds, regardless of these laws, favoured colourings that were harder to spot, i.e. black, red, fawn and brindle. Nobles, by contrast, favoured white and spotted greyhounds who could be found and recovered if lost while hunting. This actually relates to modern day, as I've found that there is a little bit of a rarity with colours like spotted greyhounds or blue greyhounds. Obviously there were less royals, so there would have been less of these colours. It also became common among the English aristocracy to say that you could tell a gentleman by his horses and his greyhounds, which sounds very royal to me. On to Renaissance. So coursing races, similar to Rome and King James, became very popular during the 16th century. Queen Elizabeth I, guys, the first Queen Elizabeth, oh my gosh, of England, she ruled from 1533 to 1603, actually had rules drawn up to judge the coursing competition, which I feel is quite possibly where the modern greyhound racing actually came from. Even Shakespeare mentions greyhounds in his literature. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start, the game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge, cry, God for Harry, England, and St. George. I'm honestly not sure really what that means, so if anyone can translate that for me, that would be amazing. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. If you feel that I've missed anything or you'd like to add anything, please comment below. We are going to do another segment from the Renaissance through to modern day times. So I would love to see your comments and your additions. That would be awesome.